Um, Hello. Today was one of those days where I was like, there's no fucking way I'm doing this. I'm tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I'm still kind of sick. I feel like shit. I was like, fuck this shit. But then, I don't know. I remembered how important this is to me, and I was like, if I let myself get away with it today, then it just gets harder and harder. So let me jump in, make this shit happen. Um, so today, what I'm going to talk about is this weird idea that I like quite a bit, which is that we don't really have unique identities, and that all there are spirits. I'm trying to explain this and not. There's a very intense inner critic telling me this shit's dumb, but I think it's cool. I think it's worth thinking about. So that we don't really have personal identities, like unique identities. Um, I think there's a set amount of kind of human types, personality, not types, personalities, and I think it's actually best to think of them as like mythological characters. And depending on the environment we're in, the narrative, because I think moods and emotions are basically stories, unconscious stories. This is a lot, maybe, to try to squeeze in just on the fly. Um, Basically, seeing every emotion as adaptive to certain situations, and that those situations present themselves, those emotions present themselves as a kind of individual that can then respond to that situation. And this is not the objective situation, but the way that we've perceived it, right? And so that we are this loose connections of habits of locking into different kinds of emotions. But I don't want to say it's emotions because it's broader than that. Different characters kind of pulling out from the collective unconscious, or the collective, our collective psychology. And then we embody those aspects and we act as them. I think this is relevant for a lot of reasons. I think it can explain some of our capacity for empathy, this feeling of common humanity. But I think it's also one of the really important reasons why humility plays a very big role within a lot of religious practices. The prostrating, bowing, which I think in effect allows so that the current personality, which is kind of fronting or being embodied, gets a chance to surrender over its control so that something deeper can then show up and take control. And that's very important because sometimes, certain personalities are overstaying their welcome and they're no longer adaptive. But, just like the ego wants to, well, just like anybody wants to feel like they're right and they should stick around and they're valid and whatnot, and they can really fight for it depending on how scared they are. It's the same thing, and to get a chance to see what else we could be, which is really a chance to see if what else human potential has, which I think is in each of us, a lot of humility is required to let those parts shine through. So yeah, like I keep saying, I'll write these down at some point, and I want to make like a proper good video essay. But that's not where I'm at now. I'm just barely able to turn this thing on and look into this lens, look at you, and sputter out a few words. And with my eyes closed, hit upload. So I'm gonna keep doing that until that's easy, and then I'll move to the next step. But that's it for today. So take it easy.